Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bryony. On here what we do is we put on makeup, we talk about a serious topic, and sometimes I'll actually also do reviews on vegan and cruelty-free makeup products as well. I do those ones on Sundays, but you're here on a Tuesday where we have some tea, we spill some tea with B. Now, not many people can say my name, so please just refer to me as B. I take no offense at that because I've been called the other B word many times in my life too. What we're doing today is we are obviously talking about pretty privilege, as you will have seen from the title, but a different spin on pretty privilege. And I would love to have a bit of a dialogue with you as well down in the comments below. All of these videos that I come up with for my Tuesday ones are actually fed from my Instagram. This is where we have the main form of communication until I finally hit that 1,000 sub goal. If you haven't already subscribed, as you can tell from that very subtle hint, please do subscribe because I come up with new videos every single week. Sometimes it's 2 videos, and I will be increasing my vegan issues sort of topic. I'll probably in like a week's time actually have my slightly more controversial view on vegan activism in terms of what I raised in that video that has gotten me some hate in the community. So without any further ado, let's just jump straight into this video. It's called the halo effect, it's called attractiveness bias. I've already done a whole video that dives into like the science behind it, the darker side of it, so if you want to check that out, you might actually almost want to watch that video first. I'll just link it up here and it's also listed down below, but of course do come back because we're talking about a whole number of other things to do with Pretty Privilege Day, as you can see from the title. What we're doing in this video is obviously talking about attractiveness bias and how it links to the Instagram face and the inaccessibility of it. So basically, we've got a whole lot of things that are working against the every person. And also we're talking about some of the things that I missed in that video too. So people get treated differently depending on how they look. I know that for me personally, I get treated differently depending on if I'm actually dolled up, if I've made an effort, or whatever that means. I call this expressing creativity, but you know, you can call it whatever you want, hun. It's so much easier to actually forgive a pretty person when they screw up in comparison to an ugly person. Or someone that's not attractive. I mean, you can even look at that disgusting TikTok trend. You know, like that prison TikTok trend where people are like browsing through, like it's like a dating catalogue, and you're like, oh, that person looks really good, or that person, or that person. People don't even care about the crimes that are caused or committed or why they're in prison. I'm not saying that I agree with like incarceration of everyone because I'm kind of more of a reform person myself. But when it comes to like people just being like, they're pretty, therefore I will work for them. And it's the same with like, I watch a lot to do with like serial killers, which sounds weird, but if I say that I'm a Scorpio, then people will understand it, right? Don't worry, my husband is alive and he's still safe, okay? Please don't worry about him, he's fine. But people actually do like obsess about serial killers because they're handsome and they have like fantasies and all these groups about them, and I'm like, do you know? You do know how awful these people are as people, but because they're attractive, they're of course like given like a pass and they're used as like a fetish, like a sexual fantasy, but also something that people act on. I believe that certain people that have been cancelled were cancelled quickly, and when I say cancelled, I do of course mean accountability culture, because I don't believe in cancel culture. Because accountability culture is actually worthwhile, and it's where people are pointing out things that you can change, learn and grow from, and you know that on this channel we are fans of that. Sharing facts and not completely bullying someone is a good thing. You give them opportunities, that's good. A lot of it comes down also to do with ageism and racism, which actually all plays in to do with like this white version of pretty privilege, because it is still a westernized, a colonized view of like what is deemed to be pretty. One thing that I didn't talk about in my attractiveness bias video was actually the trans community. Now obviously I'm not part of it, but I still want to highlight the issue that comes across there as well. Now Natalie, you'll know her as Contrapoints. I don't even know her personally, it's just Contrapoints is an amazing channel that I think that everyone should watch, if not only just to like open your mind a little bit, maybe come across things that you might find quite challenging. I know that she's like a controversial person in some communities, but I love the work that she does. There's this whole thing to do with passing, obviously, as you become like a trans woman, for example. Of course, sadly, this affects women more than men, or female identifying people more than men. It typifies the expectation of cis normativity. Now, it's not my space to talk about this, so I will of course like link Natalie's video down below and also another article about it as well, so that you can kind of become like aware of the issues that are going on there. I'm sorry if you can hear crunching. Pixie is just having a lot of fun in the tissue paper. But this is a whole other space as well, which is kind of typifying the same sort of surgeries that people have to go through for an Instagram face. So it actually affects a whole number of people because it's making you seem the most feminine that you can be, and also the most male view feminine that you can be, which is also quite troubling. So in my videos, I talk about our obsession with appearance and how much it affects our lives. Of course, as we're putting on makeup, because irony. It's like whether you want to know about filters and Facetune and how that affects us, or if you want to know about ageism, or just like why we are like forced to hate each other almost because of society. Like that all links into pretty privilege as well, which again is a white view of what is deemed to be pretty, whilst also just like cherry picking certain things which have been traditionally fetishized over many years, which is from other cultures. So let's kind of dissect the Instagram face right now. Money and capitalism, baby. It makes it a whole lot easier in the game of life in general. The Instagram face, where everyone is all stunningly beautiful but looks vaguely similar at the same time. It's like equality but not like equity with beauty, because you still have to have money to be able to get it, you still have to have youth to be able to get it, and you still also have to have, I don't know, pretty good genes to start off with, because not everyone can actually have a face that can get turned into an Instagram face. Because obviously in the world of beauty there is no way to actually level the playing field to make it equitable, because we can't really change people on a molecular level fully, I mean, yet. But through the power of capitalism you can of course like get this very elevated, almost Bratz doll like look. Like it's almost like everyone wants to look like Snitchery, who is actually like mixed race. You want to be a young girl, it's a girl, it's not a woman yet, because it's typically like a teen that you want to look like, or like just on the cusp of 20. So you want to have a small narrow nose, you want to have high up cheekbones, you want to have full plump lips, you want to have brows which are slightly arched, you also want to have your eyes look a bit more almond shape and hooked up, and also you want to have a small pointed chin. I mean, with enough fake tan and some clever marketing you can actually like advertise yourself to be mixed race, because you know, like you can't have hashtag inclusivity without a bit of cultural appropriation. In order to create this face, it's taken a very white-centric view of just cherry-picking particular parts that we want from different cultures, from different ethnicities, and then you have like this ultimate beauty which exists now, which, like I said, looks more like a Bratz doll, which is kind of creepy, and also there is a lot more of a childlike look to the way that people are making themselves look, which again creeps me out a bit more too. Now of course I'm not blaming the people that want to like get these surgeries done, because a lot of this comes down to insecurity. So much of it comes down to what we've been taught to actually aspire to be, and so I'm like, you know what, it's not entirely your fault, you just are falling prey to all of this expectation that's put on you. And especially if you are like an influencer or content creator, whatever you're doing, if you're trying to make a living online, then like getting these surgeries done will actually help you out a lot. We also have a big issue with the fact that women's worth is measured by their looks, and this has been the case for many years. But is it really something that any of us see changing? I personally don't, sadly, as you are valued based on your looks in order to be a, I don't know, aspirational female. Then is it any surprise that we've got mostly girls and women wanting to get these surgeries and doing these more extreme things? A lot of it comes down to just the fact that life does become a lot easier when you're pretty. It just does. And of course the bigger issue here is the fact that this only lasts for a finite amount of time, because in like maybe 5 years you're replaced by someone that's a decade younger than you. So basically children are just being like called the most beautiful, and it's almost like you're telling someone that they're peaking in high school, and I'm like, Oh, and also all of this whole hypersexualization of the young actually also ties into the whole Madonna whore complex, which we are talking about next week. I'm researching for it right now and it is going to be a really good video, so please do subscribe because I'm so excited for that one. Now there's this whole other issue which comes into the whole pretty privilege thing, is the fact that we've seen this played out in media. You see constantly pretty people are being viewed as like the good people, and you also see your protagonists. Say for example, if you have ever watched a movie aimed at young adults or teenagers, you will have definitely seen the trope of the makeover. Now Mina Lee's done a really good video on this, other people have done a really good video on this, but you can actually go through the protagonist's whole journey and how much their life changes when they become more beautiful. And typically it's for the better. Like there's a couple that aren't. One example is of course like Jawbreaker, which is a movie which I just adore and I think that everyone should watch for its campy glory. But there was a film that I used to love so much growing up, which was Wish Upon a Star, which is like Freaky Friday but between sisters. I related more to Hailey, but I always wanted to be Alexia, and to be honest I still want Alexia's wardrobe because it is sickening. The thing about pretty privilege is it's something that you've got from birth. Like babies look at pretty faces for longer. It's something that is inherently part of like our lives. So really, are you surprised with anything that I'm bringing up given what we've talked about over the past few months? Like you've literally got filters, you've got Facetune, which is automatically giving you this beautiful face. You've got all of us that are glued to our phones, which are promoting people which are beautiful. Like we can talk about the TikTok algorithm, like saying it's all customized for you, but then it's typically promoting people that are Caucasian and beautiful and young and conforming it to a very white male gaze stereotype of young and pretty and pretty and pretty. And of course this also comes down to a self-fulfilling prophecy because beautiful people are just treated better in general, and then that gives you more confidence, and so then you get more popular and it just becomes a whole thing. When you feel beautiful you can obviously do more with life, feel better. This wasn't meant to be quite as broody as it has turned out, but I'm kind of here for it. Obviously in order to be able to have like the surgeries to be able to get the Instagram face that is wanted, which is problematic enough in itself, it's actually not a reality for most of us. Now the thing is that we can individually do things that make us feel more beautiful, but just by doing things that make you possibly feel more beautiful doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be of like the stature that is deemed to be acceptably beautiful to the Western world, or like what is deemed to be exactly beautiful by whatever society's standards are for that time. Now of course like we do not know if this look will be in for a very long time, but I kind of like almost feel like ever since people like Selena Gomez and like with Ariana Grande, like there's been a definite shift in the way that people want people to look, and the Instagram face I feel like is just kind of like the 2020s version of that. I don't really know exactly how long this will last. Obviously not everyone's going to be able to be white, able-bodied, skinny thick with massive long luscious hair. Yeah, it's not really something that's very accessible to people. I still feel like quite a bit of an agony aunt here because I keep on bringing the same messages back. Like I want people to feel beautiful no matter what they're doing, where they are. If you want to put makeup on, cool. If you want to wear a dress, cool. If you feel more comfortable in other things, that's great. The main issue that a lot of people have with pretty privilege is the fact that you see these people that are being treated so much better than the average person literally just because of the way that they look, and that's not exactly fair. And we all want to be treated the way that beautiful people are treated. Like everyone wants to have like that nice attention, everyone wants to have the door held open for them. Now I still, like I said, I suffer from jealousy an awful lot. We all suffer from this, and we can all look down on people that are naturally born pretty, but it's really like the system that works around it that we should be more mad at, and we should purposefully expose ourselves to people that may not fall into those typical pretty privilege categories. Now I know that people will be like, oh well then I can't follow you anymore, haha. I know that for me personally, I've definitely benefited from the way that I've been able to manipulate the way that I look in order to actually look more attractive. I'm very well aware of that fact because I know that from previous companies that have hired me, I've been hired based on my looks, and I get that. So I know that for me, I've even benefited from this too. Dealing with the fact that psychologically we're wired to want to look at more beautiful people, it's something that's always going to be an uphill battle. I basically just wish that people were valued for more than just skin deep stuff, which is probably something that you've picked up on through all of these videos I've covered over all of these months. Now, this is where I just want to get your opinion as well. What are your thoughts on pretty privilege? Do you think it exists? I mean, like, obviously there's all of the studies about it, but have you really experienced any of these things yourself, or like just seen it? Have you seen it in your workplace as well? Because I kind of think that this is still at play at work, which it really shouldn't be. It should be like best person for the job, or like trying to actually include a diversity of people, as opposed to just being like, ooh, I'm a white man, I know a whole bunch of really good white men. Thank you lovelies so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you did make it all the way to the end, please leave a little kitty hat, because I've got a kitty cat just over there. I'll actually just show you, shall I? There, see? Little baby cat. It's ridiculously hot in my room, so she's just melted, just like I'm melting. Anyway lovelies, thank you again so much, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.